Hello and welcome back to Module 2 of the Microsoft Project course. Here we're talking about fundamentals both for beginners, intermediate, and even those who already know how to use it. So this is a very important course for all levels. By the way, we will continue Module 2 in this video by looking at a number of topics. So we will look at how you can start building the project that we started in the last video, Mr. John's storage. And we will look at how to start adding tasks that needs to be done for that project, and also the duration, the start and finish date, which determines also the duration. And also we will practice a little bit with how you enter tasks, and depending on the task mode, they can either be manually scheduled, which means checking the duration, or automatically scheduled, which also does that with the duration. But for manual, this means you have to compute or put the duration yourself. But we'll see how that looks like. So we will practice a little bit with these three, because as we go more and more in the course, we will do this more often. So it will not be a one-time thing. So let's pull up our project file that we opened already with Mr. John's storage. So please be aware that I'm just assuming that I'm also new and trying to build a project from scratch. Normally you can make a rough plan on a paper before you start using a project to enter that plan. In this case, I would just be putting it directly from my head, thinking along. That helps our practice in a way to see for those especially who haven't used it before. So which means sometimes you might see some mistakes made, but that is part of the whole training. So this is where we enter the task area. Before we do that, let's extend this a little bit. So what happens here is I want to start my project. I will go to the first task. Before we do that, be aware that the setting here says for new tasks, they are manually scheduled. See what happens when I start entering tasks. So basically, I start from maybe one line below, it doesn't matter. And here I will say this is my start. Just name it anything. So, and I'll call it John Storage. Okay, and what you see is that when I do that, I don't see any start or finish date. So which means I have to enter them myself. And here indicates that this is a manual entry or scheduling. So to do that, I would go here. I will say, okay, let's say we want to start that project somewhere, let's say next week, which is on the 10th. And we want to finish the project. Of course, we can choose a date now, and we want to finish it somewhere in, let's say, January 28th. But then when we start entering the other things and linking tasks and dependencies, the finish date will not be what we have here. So you see that the duration is calculated based on my entry. So if I have to do this again, and I say, so let's see how we structure the project. So in other words, I can say the first thing I want to do is, let's say, check what are the storage requirements. Let's see, storage scope, right? So again, it's a manual entry, and let's, instead of entering the dates, let's put a duration. And when you put a duration, what you see is that it doesn't give you a date. But if I choose a start date of 10, then it calculates using 2 days, both 10 and 11 work days actually, depending on the configuration of your project tool. And then what you see on the chart here, you start seeing from the date, from the 10th of January, this is how long the project will go. Okay, and this is the first thing I do, which will take me 2 days. So what I will do here for now, I just want to change this to, let's just make it February 18, for example. So, but you can actually make this, automated so that it manually computes it. So the only thing, the downside sometimes would be that it immediately uses the date of today and computes what you want. But I can change this to automatic. For example, I can just say auto schedule. But the thing is that if I want everything I enter, tax I enter to be automatically scheduled, I have to change that here. So I go here, I click and I say go to auto scheduled. So I can do this and I can say, okay, this is the storage scope. So the other things that I will need would be materials. And you see automatically these are put in starting from 10th, which follows the previous date. Okay, and I can choose to start it from 10th. Now it doesn't matter anyway. What matters here is the duration. So I will change this by double click inside. Not that. If I click one, it's inside materials check. And here I say I want to do a material check for 2 days. And I can start 1 day later after defining the scope. And you see what happens here. So it takes 2 days and 1 day more than the previous one. Now we're not linking anything, we're not doing anything, we're just putting in information, tasks to do. And another thing to do here would be, you can say, let's see, when you check the materials, and you can now talk about build the foundation. Automatically again, I can say, let's say that takes 3 days, and it automatically calculates it from there. Now I will not change this date because when we come to the other parts of the video, we will start talking about linking. And when you start linking tags, this date will automatically follow up themselves. So we've just learned how you can add tags, duration, start and finish dates, and also how you can go from manual to auto scheduled. So in the next video, we will continue with other parts and we'll start adding more things to this plan. Thank you.